Welcome back. This is still the POLITY, reaching you live from Abuja. Well, as the governorship election in the state of Edo grows closer, aspirants are making strong their case for the gubernatorial seat. Come November 2024, when Governor Godwin Obaseki's tenure will elapse, the various aspirants will begin the race to decide who will emerge as his successor. Now in the studio, I've been joined by one of such aspirants with the Labour Party, Mr. Lucky Obiyan. He joins me now to speak on Edo State, his ambition, and also what the people are in need of at the moment and what he hopes to bring to the table. Good afternoon, welcome to the program.
Good afternoon, thank you for having me. It's good to be here again.
All right, so I like to always start these conversations very easy and simple. Why do you want to be governor of Edo State?
Thank you very much, Amadin. Like I was asked 2 days ago in an interview, am I desperate to be governor? So I'm going to cement both questions with yours. One of the core reasons why I want to be governor of the state is because I'm desperate to see the state work. The state, I regret to say, the state currently is in a sorry state. Economically, it is backward. Infrastructural decadence in the state is unimaginable. All the roads, both federal and state roads, about 90% of the roads in Edo State are totally bad. They are impassable. If you look at the image, Benin City, Edo State, ordinarily supposed to be the heartbeat of Nigeria. That is how it is being ascribed. That's the slogan for the state. But today, what is happening to the heart? That heart is sick. And when the heart is sick, within the human anatomy, it affects the entire system of the body. And that is why I threw my heart in the ring in order to come and revamp and rejuvenate most of the moribund sectors in Edo State. Virtually everything that has to do with governance is in comatose. And one of the cardinal reasons why I'm coming for this, to be the governor of the state, I'm not coming for the rich, I'm coming for the poor. I'm coming to transform the lives of the poor. I'm coming to wrestle power from the elite class and give it back to the people, upon whose sovereignty lies in their hands. The people of Edo currently are suffering an untold hardship. And each time I look at the news, we're always in the news for the wrong reason. It is very, very disheartening and appalling to see a state so naturally blessed with over 20 mineral resources deposited in the state, and we are still languishing in penury. The roads are impassable, there is no power, security is almost at its lowest ebb. The economic, look at the GDP of the state. It's nothing to write home about. So we have a lot of issues in Edo. It's a 7-point agenda. My administration is coming to rectify most of those administrative lapses. This current government has plunged us into a very gargantuan scale of indebtedness in the state. In a less time, the external debt of Edo State was hovering between 183 million US dollars to 190. But today, as we speak, we have, by the report by DMO, over 258 million US dollars as an external debt that is hovering like an albatross on the very oxygen the state uses to breathe, already suffocating the state. And that is why my administration is coming on board to change that slogan. Firstly, to change the slogan of being labeled as a civil servant state. We're going to be changing it to a business hub.
It is currently being labeled as a civil servant state.
Yes, it is a civil servant state. What do we have industries? What do we produce in the states? Apart from hoteling. So we are coming on board with a lot of innovations. I want to aggressively tackle industrialization. We're going to industrialize that state. holistically, the 3 senatorial districts are going to feel our impact. Edo is a population of nearly 5 million people. To be precise, about 4,777,000 people. Almost 5 million. Edo has 192 wards with 3 senatorial districts, 18 local government. I hear from Edo Central, Esan West local government, Eploma, in Edo State. And when you look at the entire arrangement of the city, we have always existed as a tripod agreed system of government over the years. So we are coming on board to see how we can replicate the true meaning of governance across the 3 senatorial districts. That is a state that is blessed, adequately blessed, with human and mineral resources. So we are coming to harness all the endowments of the state that are inherent in the state, to the productivity of the state and to the betterment of the Edo citizens.
All right, that's fair enough. We'll still dwell on the things that Edo State people probably are looking out for. But in your opinion, I mean, I've already heard a bit of where you might stand. But in your opinion, is the current government doing poorly? I say this because we hear a lot about Governor Obaseki coming with this way of doing things. But by me, I mean electronic. Even in the civil service, which you mentioned, the Edo Hub and other such. Just recently, he announced something about improving the power supplies to make Edo State, work in terms of power. And also, I think the Edo State Broadcasting Service. The point I'm trying to make is you are the youth here, so to speak. And Governor Obaseki is, a bit in the older generation. But when it comes to that electronic aspect, would you say he has not done well enough? And is that something that is at all a focus that you would pay attention to?
Yeah, thank you for the question. When you're talking about someone's report card in the service of humanity, I believe the best place to get a response to a question of this magnitude is for you to roll your cameras on the streets of Benin and hear from the people themselves. In fact, if you decide to travel to Benin today from Abuja by road, my brother, you will almost spend 48 hours before you get into Benin. This is a journey ordinarily, hitherto, would not exceed 6-7 hours.
Is this in reference to federal roads? I'm
telling you, both the federal and the state road. Now, what do we really mean? Let us even break it down. What is federal road? What is state roads? The other day in an interview, I tried to make the Nigerian people understand, and more especially the citizens of Edo, because most of these governors, they hide under the cloak of federal roads are not to be tampered with. Where is it written constitutionally? The reason why they hide under that guise that this is federal road, we can only walk on state roads, is because in this country, a president once said that they should not, governors should stay away from federal road. Why did that president make that statement as at that time? Because most of these governors, when they decide to award contracts to fix a particular road, maybe a road that might just cost 50-60 million, at the end of the day, when they are seeking refunds of funds, they decide to inflate the figures to maybe 150 million and all of that. So that was what necessitated that statement from the then president to say, please stay off federal roads, we'll fix our roads ourselves. You go ahead with your state roads. But can we continue to rely and remain on that while our people face the untold hardship? If we are in the city of Benin today, as I speak to you, the reality on ground speaks for itself. Edo North is almost cut off from the other 2 senatorial districts, Edo Central and Edo South. As I speak now, it is impassable. The other day, the current minister of works tried to see for himself. He never wanted to board flight. He decided to trek through the road. It took him almost how many hours? Almost 8 hours to access from local houses to access the city of Benin. You can imagine at that level, with all the retinue of securities that will clear all the barricades on the road. It took him almost 8 hours. So the reality on ground as we speak does not reflect the dividends of democracy in the state. Like I said initially, that state is so huge in potential for it to suffer what the plague of maladministration that bedevils the state today. I'll give you some instance. If you look at South Korea is just a population of 51 million people. And if you look at their source of energy in South Korea, mainly 40% is carbon, while hydro and the rest of and nuclear takes the other chunk of the main source of energy. Then renewable energies like biomass, waste, and all of that is being designated to generate power for only residential sector in South Korea. In North Korea is a population of 25.9 million people. If you look at it, their major source of power generation there in North Korea is the same carbon, coal. We're talking about coal, we're talking about hydro. And these countries is not a rocket science. We can replicate that, because when you get power right, definitely in my administration, when voted into office, what do we want to do the first 100 days when we come into power? The first thing we are going to do is to stabilize power in the state. Thank God for the recently signed electricity bill that now enables state governments to generate their own power and distribute. We can bring we're already in touch with some of these people. The North Korea energy giants and the South Korea energy giants, we bring them to the state. We try to see how we can sign a bilateral treaty with these two nations that have done so well for themselves. Look at the megawatts, over 36.6 million megawatts that North Korea and generates and all of that. We can bring them to other state and say, okay, we are stationing the South Korea giants here in the city capital, while the other ones, the North Korea, we break them into the other three senatorial districts. Solar power, we can get through solar, we can generate light for the people of Edo. In our time, Edo will have 24 hours power supply. It is not rocket science. If you are coming into the states, we will make you understand that you have just one thing in mind. And what is the thing you have in mind? That you are coming into a country inside a country. Because you're going to be experiencing 24 hours power. And by that, you are already illuminated every other part of the state as it affects good governance, as it affects technology, as it affects making the state work. Power is the soul, is the key to any developmental entity in any clime. So currently, what we have currently in Edo State is a clear departure from what democracy is all about. You just, in my opening statement, you heard the external debt that we currently have in the state, irrespective of the huge mineral deposits that we have in the state. As we progress into this discussion, we begin to categorize some of these areas in Edo State that most of these deposits are found. If I permit me to resurrect history a bit, if you look at during the late siege of Chief Obafemi Awolowo, Chief Obafemi Awolowo once said that Edo is the citadel of rubber plantation in the country, and he was right. Out of the 6 states in the south, Akwa Ibom, Cross River, Rivers, Bayelsa, Edo, and Delta, that produces rubber in the state, together with some states from the west like Ogun and Ondo. Then you look at in the east, Abia and Anambra. These states are wonderfully endowed with rubber, but Edo happened to stand tall amongst these states in terms of rubber production. At a point in this country, within the West African sub-region, because of our capacity to process and market rubber from Edo State, Nigeria was being applauded and recognized. Today, Amadin, go and verify. If you check the first 5 African nations that are the highest producer of rubber today in Africa, there is nowhere Nigeria is found. You can see a country like Liberia that produces 100,000 tons of rubber annually. You will see the second in that list, Ivory Coast, produces 18,000 tons of rubber. Then you see Cameroon and you see Ghana. Nigeria is nowhere to be found. But in my administration, when we come on board, we will revisit the agricultural sector. It's going to be a mechanized agricultural revolution in the states.
So is it that your belief is that the key to resuscitating Edo State, as you call it, is through natural resources? What about people?
Okay.
In terms of human resources?
Yes, we will do that. The human capital will not be left out. Why I am raising the issue of the natural resources? Because these natural resources are wasting away in the state. Now, permit me to take you to Luxembourg in Western Europe. If you look at Luxembourg is a population of 661,000 people, currently as we speak. Today, the wealthiest economy in the world is Luxembourg, with a population of just 661,000 people. What is their landmass? What is the landmass of Luxembourg as it affects the landmass of Edo State? You look at the GDP of Luxembourg, over 100, the per capita income of each Luxembourg citizen is 128,000 US dollars per capita income, with 87 billion US dollars GDP. What is the GDP of Edo State? The population of Luxembourg, if you look at the population of Luxembourg, it's almost 8 times the population of Edo State. And when you look at the landmass of Edo State, Edo currently is 17,806 square meters. Some say 19,128. But we are the number 22nd largest city in Nigeria by landmass. If you look at the state currently, as it stands and as it is structured, with the population close to 5 million, against that of Luxembourg, that is just 661,000 people. Look at the per capita income of Luxembourg, which is $128,000 per capita income, with a GDP of $87 billion. Edo State, as we speak today, $11.89 billion US dollars is the per capita income of is the GDP of Edo State, with a per capita income of $3,623. So what does Luxembourg have that Edo do not have? Luxembourg does not have anything. The only thing they have, they predicate the major source of their revenue on banking and iron, steel. That is where they predicate their main source of revenue. This iron ore that you talk about, that you have in Kogi and in other states in the country, that is what Luxembourg used to generate 87 billion US dollars as the GDP. They are number 74, the wealthiest country, number 74 in Global Economic Ranking Index GDP as of 2023. IMF World Bank certified them to be the wealthiest country. If you go to Luxembourg today, they have one of the lowest rates of unemployment in the world, 6.01, and they constitute 0.01% of the population of the entire world. So in Edo, in our time, why my emphasis is centered around the natural resources in Edo State, it's because we are blessed. You go to all parts of Edo State. We have dolomite, we have laterite, we have gold in a Dangbala community in Akoko Edo. You could see what is happening in that community. They almost cut off. You see criminals, miners, they come without license. They mine gold from Dangbala community with the connivance of some unscrupulous federal agents. And at the end of the day, they leave that territory, that community. If you see that community today, you weep. Without paying royalties to the state government and the community. When we come aboard, we will secure our people. And if the federal government is coming to mine any of our mineral resources, definitely royalties must be paid to the state government. There are laws. The state governors in this country are so powerful that the only area they exercise their might is how to oppress the poor and loot the treasury of this country. They tell us to tighten our belt while they're losing their belt to feed fat from the natural resources in this country. Permit me to take you to what is happening nationally. You can see the amount that is expended for Federal House of Rep members just to purchase vehicle. 160 million US dollars per SUV multiplied by 360. You are arriving at 57 billion naira in a country where individuals cannot pay. People are withdrawing their children from school. So my administration, when we come into government, when the good people of Edo State find us worthy and repose the confidence of governance in us, we are coming to change the orientation. We will go back to the old glory days where rubber and every other natural resources that we are blessed with in that state, we will make sure that we utilize it on behalf of the people of the state, the way it is being expended, and to the productivity of the state in general.
All right, that's again, fair enough. But before we delve into more of what's going on in the Edo State, people might be wondering who is speaking, so to speak, when I refer to you. So the question now is, what would I say qualifications or experience are you bringing in? Because like I said, it's not that I'm very aware of your age, but I know that the governors and yours, there's some disparities. So people tend to look and say, well, this is a youth talking, this is a young man talking. What is he bringing to the table to that is worthy of being a governor? But before you answer that, let's hear from one of our callers. Hello. All right, I think this is a wrong number. Please go ahead.
Okay, yeah. Talking about the capacity to perform in office. You see, that is what we are coming to change, that narrative. Enough of genocratic leadership. That gerontocracy is what we are coming to expunge from the polity. Governance, in as much as age is synonymous with wisdom, but we are in a digital generation and we must face the reality on ground. I am, in fact, very, very more than qualified to run for that office. One of the capacity that we possess as a people, you are aware of my antecedents, my activistic background. We've always interrogated power. We've always interrogated the establishment. So it wouldn't be fair on our part, having created such status for ourselves in the past, to come into office and decide to look the other way and go to contrary to what we believe in. We are coming to Edo State. When you look at my qualification that you talked about, what qualifies me to run for the office of governor? I have served this country meritoriously at the federal level between 12 to 14 years before I honorably trained in the Torah in the Federal Road Safety Corps. I worked with the Federal Road Safety Corps for over 12 to 14 years. By 2018, I trained in the Torah. 2019, I ran for an election, Federal House of Representatives, to contest Esan West, Esan Central, to represent Esan West, Esan Central, and the Government Federal Constituency of Edo State at the National Assembly. And we've always been at the vanguard of postulating and advancing good democratic governance at the national stage by interrogating those in the corridor of power. So when we come into power, like I keep saying, we are going to redefine governance. We are going to change Edo State from being a departure lounge to a destination point. A place where, wherever you find yourself in anywhere in the globe, if you don't come to the city of Edo, that means you've not completed your journey on planet Earth. We are coming to bring Eldorado to Edo State. We are coming to change the narrative that the youth can be at the driver's seat while the elderly can be consulted. Now, part of the things we are coming to do for the Edo people, we are coming for the poor. I'm coming for the poor, the have-nots in the society. In my administration, I have said it in subsequent fora that I attend. I do tell them that in my administration, there will be no one beggar on the streets of Benin. There will be no destitute on the street of Benin.
How would you solve that?
Yes, I will tell you how we are going to do that. I work with data. I work with records. There is nowhere, no civilized clime anywhere in the world that you see the people function in the business of governance without data and record. But it's unfortunate in this part of the world. We don't have records. We don't have data. The first thing we're going to do, the first 100 days when we come into office, is to identify how many are we in Edo State. If you are a citizen of Edo, because there are criteria that you must present to portray that you are a citizen from Edo State, definitely you will be given an identification tag. If you are from another state and you spent 10 years in the state, you are also qualified to earn an identification tag. The reason for that identification tag is for us to have statistics and figures, because I wonder how these people just sit down in government houses, governors, at the end of every year, they send budgets. On which template? What is the barometer that they use to measure the data analysis on the budget they propose that they send to their state houses of assembly. So we will work with data, and those individuals that will be identified as true Benin individuals, we will, as a matter of fact, because we are coming to industrialize the state, the 3 senatorial districts will feel our impact in industrialization. It's not a rocket science. If it takes us to borrow, to build industry, in order to erode unemployment rate in Edo State, we will do that, not to borrow and service paymasters or to borrow and service godfatherism. I keep saying it, we are not going to be a barbaric wearing government. We are not going to be an AC type government that remains. We are going to take the office of the governor to the streets of the people. We'll make them understand that, look, let us hear what the problem is and we'll fix it for you. That is why we are here. In our time when we come to power, free education at the primary level and at the secondary level. That is what we have promised the Edo people. Then at the tertiary level, we're going to give them 50% subsidy when we come to power.
Where are the money?
The money, by the time we industrialize the state, now let me tell you something, my brother. Currently, in January 2023, the head of the Internal Generating Revenue Service of Edo State, Honorable John Osaige, Honorable Osaige Inegbejian, told the people that Edo has almost reached the threshold of $4 billion naira as its state monthly IGRO and all of that. We will double the IGRO. How are we going to do that? Like I told you before, I said we are going to work more on the mechanized farming. We're going to change the agricultural sector, the face of agricultural sector. We bring investors that will come and invest in agric in the state and thereby open the corridor of more investors to come. That is why power is the fundamentalities. Any investor that is coming into Nigeria that supports Edo with a regular power supply, we want to come to Edo and invest in Edo State. So we'll give you the reason to come and invest in Edo State. And while you are investing in Edo State, there are some other communities in Edo State. Who do they pay these royalties for? We will tell them, look, that is Trunk A road, fix that road for us. The royalty that you give to us as a government that will be shared among the few, fix so and so road, fix so and so road. Banks, you've been working in this state, you've been operating in this state. We have a synergy with banks. So I don't want to release all my bullets on air. We have a bogus template, a litany of how we are going to generate funds to fund the projects we intend to situate in the 3 senatorial districts of this of Edo State, and at the same time that will replicate across the 192 wards. We are coming for the poor, not for the rich. That is the truth of the matter. We'll keep saying it and we'll keep telling the people.
All right, but you were speaking about, getting a tag and an identification for Edo State residents or thereabout.
Yes.
How would that help in removing people or beggars from the streets, as you said?
Okay, thank you very much. Now, the issue of beggars and the issue of destitutes, the have-nots, orphans, widows, we will categorize them. We will create a ministry. Probably there's already an existing ministry. So we'll hinge on that ministry. Each of these people, there's going to be a task force that will be created that will champion that cause. They will bring all of these persons together in each of the 3 senatorial districts. We're going to house them. We'll feed them. We'll clothe them. How do we do that? We're going to be drawing alliance with some very elegant and wonderful organizations within the sub-arrangement of the United Nations. You have UNICEF there, and you have many other international donors that would want to come in partnership and see what we are doing, how we are trying to eradicate poverty in the state, how we are trying to lift those that are living below the average dollar in the state. By the time they begin to see how serious this government is, our government would be, they will be forced to finance most of these charitable organizations that we do. On my own little way, I do charity. It is in me. I cannot walk past when my pocket is loaded and I see a beggar on the road. My Creator knows that. So it is the covenant I have with Him that I am coming to work for the poor, not for the elite. We will house them, we will feed them. The resources to feed them, house them, educate them, and train them vocationally and professionally will definitely be available. We will make alliance with international donors. And we will also set part of our budget to take care of welfareism. Senior citizens of the state, when you are age 60 in the state, from age 60, from your retirement age till when God Almighty calls you home, we will be able, as a government, to take care of our senior citizens, irrespective of their gratuity, irrespective of their pension. We will set aside stipends for them. If you are an unemployed individual, an unemployed youth in the state, prior to you getting the job, that is where the data efficacy will come. The data and identification project will come. The moment you are identified as a citizen of Edo State, definitely you will be given stipends at the end of every month. That will reduce crime. It's going to reduce crime because we're going to launch what we call Operation. It's a 7-point agenda. Maybe some other time when I come on this program, I'm going to give you a breakdown on this 7-point agenda. But I'm only trying to summarize, across the agendas, what we will do for the people. We're going to be launching Operation Clean Edo State. That Operation Clean Edo State, environmentally, will make Edo one of the most cleanest city, not just within the Nigerian state, but across the continent of Africa. To the extent that if you are an individual that purchases a sachet of pure water and you are heading along probably Ring Road, for instance, the manner at which you see this, the soil or the ground being polished, and you know taxpayers' money is being used to clean up the city, when you are done with your sachet of water, you will have that guilt for the first time not to throw it. Because the moment you throw it to the ground, there are task force. You have already created a job. Task force will be there to apprehend you. When they apprehend you with civility, and you're going to pay a fine. And proceed from that nature will in turn pay back to those task force that we have employed in that sector.
All right. So, it's always a cut to short, because of time. I want to quickly touch some issues that seem to an extent peculiar to Edo State. The other day we saw an APC chieftain, the APC youth leader, I believe at the moment, Mr. Kabaka, going on a walk and sort of doing some sort of sensitization against cultism, where he was calling out those involved and saying they would not tolerate it and so on. That's one aspect where people believe, well, this is an issue that we have in the state, because there are periods of time you see there's some fracas going about and so on. So that issue, I'd like to get your thoughts on it. And also another issue that is believed to be prevalent to an extent in Edo State is the issue of illegal migration. I've interviewed personally a number of people from Edo State who were lured in one way or another out of the state by false promises. I believe even the Oba of Benin himself had to wade into the matter and offer guidance on how to curb that issue. So these two issues generally, how do you handle them? Are they things you believe the state government should be involved in, or is just something that the state will solve on its own?
Yes, let me begin from the very first one, the issue of cultism you talked about. You see, it's quite unfortunate that cultism in Edo State has become a recurring decimal from previous administration. But one man I must doff my hat for, who was able during his time as governor of the state, was able to manage cultism to the most minimal level, happens to be His Excellency Senator Adams Oshomole. He was able to manage cultism in the state during his administration. He dangled this carrot and stick approach, and it worked for him. We're going to adopt that policy. In our time, there will be no court clashes. There won't be. Because one of the core reasons why most of these hydra-headed societal menace occur in any society, using Edo as a case study, one of the cardinal reasons is poverty. When the people seem to be neglected, when they feel neglected by the government they invested their trust in, and when they feel that they are no longer part of the governance structure in the state, they might be compelled and forced to enter into several confraternity, thinking probably succor may come from there. And that is why we are going to be addressing. There will be a radical address as it affects taking the youth off the street and giving them something tangible to do, meaningful with their life. We're going to be having scholarships. will sponsor someone you sponsor, the state government sponsors to go for scholarship, to go on scholarship. Would that person have the time to come and join courtesan or come and perpetuate an act of courtesan? No. When we take the people along, every month as a government, come and tell the people the expenditure of governance. How much does your commissioner receive? In our time, we will publish it. What we spend, every kobo, every penny, we owe it to the Edo people. We always bring it to their knowledge. So by the time you engage the youth in a robust manner, they will form 70%, I repeat, 70% of our cabinets. We're going to bring them. The elderly will not be pushed aside. The elderly, in fact, we will use them as a fortress to fortify our governance structure, because upon consultation, we definitely take that route. We will definitely consult them on most areas that seem to look like a lacuna or look like a dilemma before us as a government. So we're going to be working across board. We are the bridge. We're going to be coming as a bridge between the young and the elderly. So courtesan in our administration, when we come into office, it's going to be reduced at a very, very minimal level. And your second question, which you talked about, what was it again?
Illegal migration. And
yes, illegal migration, the Japa syndrome now.
The Japa syndrome is, to an extent, it can be legal. I'm talking about when people smuggle people out.
That's what I'm saying. Yes, yeah. I am happy that that has reduced. If you follow history very, very keenly, you discover that before the emergence of the current monarch of Benin, the level of human trafficking, the level of this illegal migration was on a very, very high scale. But with the emergence of our revered monarch, you know, with his coming and the decree he made, it went a long way to reduce trafficking. He made a decree as the father of the state, the traditional father of the state, and that went a long way to reduce the burden on government. So when we come on board, we're going to work that synergy, that robust synergy will be there. We work with the traditional stool of the state and see how we can reduce. If Edo is working, I'm desperate to see Edo work. If Edo have good road arteries, good road network, because that is one of the things I'm coming to fix in Edo State, the roads. We are going to fix all the roads in Edo State. No matter what it takes us, all the state roads, the federal roads will be fixed. I weep when I see my state. Look at where my alma mater is, Ambusali University. You weep from Ambusali to AU. My brother is in a sorry state. You can't even move. Trailers are there weeks on the road. It is impossible. I'm telling you the truth. So when we come and make life meaningful to the people of Edo State, they will not see the reason to leave the state, but rather they want to collaborate with our administration to see how we can sustain the beauty of governance and what we intend to entrench within the democratic structure of the state.
All right, that's fair enough. We are due to time. Let's quickly start to round up with moving into the political aspect of all of this. Okay. I believe you made your declaration at the Labour Party headquarters. I think a month or two ago, a couple of months ago. So why Labour Party, and also the issue of the forms? I believe the Labour Party form is about 15 million naira. Is that reasonable, do you think? Or is it an issue of where it might be discouraging for youths, And also, what are your thoughts on the political scene at the moment? Speaking of the little huffle we had between the governor and the deputy, there are talks about the governor looking for a successor or about to appoint one who may emerge. We also have the APC, who are seeming to have a sort of resurgence in Edo State despite Labour Party's performance during the presidential election. So, what's your state of mind as regards the political aspect of things?
Okay, let me Before I come to the party aspect, why Labour Party? Let me begin with your last question. The scuffle and friction, the brickbats that some few years back that existed between the current governor and the deputy governor of the state. Well, you see, when you see things like this, you begin to ask your question, on whose interest are these people promoting? Governance was on standstill while the two individuals that were voted in a joint ticket. I have a very great respect for the deputy governor of the state, and at the same time, the governor. I don't have any personal beef with any of them, but it's the style of leadership that I disagree with politically, their political philosophy. You see, when you decide to dance naked in the market square on activities that are supposed to be clandestine in nature, the business of governance suffer, and the brunt of that suffering will be visited on the unsuspecting public of the people of the state. It was something very shameful, but probably I believe they are trying to get their ass together. So we don't find that funny. Edo was constantly on the news, and I watched one of your interviews on that during that crisis between the governor and the deputy governor. But in our time, we will bring glory to Osadebe Avenue. There will be no brickbats between my very self and anybody who is to be my deputy. We will focus on why we were elected, the business of governance. That is more cordial. That should be more supreme than any other interest. We will submerge any political conflict between anybody within the corridors of power in our administration. We will not allow it affect the business of governance. Of course, there are times you disagree. What was the root cause of their problem or their crisis? It was just because the deputy governor indicated an interest to run for election, and the governor said no. Because it's traditionally within the Nigerian context, it's not Obaseki that started it, it's everywhere in the state, in the country, which is what we are coming to change. The governor should not be the one to bring who succeeds in. The people should be the one to choose who succeeds the incumbent in office. So that is what we are coming to change. We are coming to dismantle that rigging machine within the state's electoral system that incumbent governors use to disparage and use as an edge over any other contestant for that office. The people of Edo, from our time, will be allowed to conduct local government election. The people of Edo will decide everything that happens in governance when we come on board. Then let me quickly dive into the other question, talking about why Labour Party and all of that. You see, Labour Party is a party to beat in Edo State. You could see their very outstanding performance during the presidential election. We had series of interviews in this studio before we were able to deliver our local government. We delivered our award, the 3 units under my award. We delivered it for the Labour Party. The records are there. We have it. So the Labour Party, prior to the presidential election, we used to operate a 2-party system in Nigeria, with all due respect to other political parties. Currently, we have 18 political parties, with all due respect to them. But the 2 major predominant parties in the country prior to the 2023 general election happened to be the PDP and the APC. But with the emergence, the foray into the Labour Party by His Excellency Mr. Peter Obi, who is revered and seen as the icon of the Labour Party today within the country as a result of his outstanding antecedent, he was seen in that election as a dark horse that virtually upsetted the apple cart in that election. He was able to wrestle power with the establishment. He defeated the establishment. And at the end of the day, the rest probably is still in the court of law. We'll see to the end of that. So Labour Party today is a party to beat. Labour Party is synonymous to transparency, credibility, and accountability. And that is why we are using that platform. We have paid our dues for this party. You've covered most of our activities in trying to restore the mandate at the presidential level. You know, you've always followed most of our activities with the Labour Party. We have paid our dues for the party. We see the party as a redemption party that has risen as a third force to challenge the establishment. And that is why we are using that platform. And that's why we are appealing to the leadership of the party and the ones at the subnational, predominantly Edo State, that they should allow free and fair primaries. When I did my declaration, the national chairman actually gave us that, he gave us his word on that, and the state chairman as well. So we are placating, we are supplicating to them that they should allow the contest to be free and fair, so that there will be no much dissenting voices, much fallout, bitter pills after the primaries. So the Labour Party, we believe, you can see what His Excellency Mr. Alex Oti is doing in Abia State. The man is working well, to the extent that he said he was not going to collect his salary all through his 4 years. He's donating it to better the lot of the state, of the civil servant. We are coming to do more. In our time, we will redefine governance. We will continue to raise the bar of the Labour Party. So we see the Labour Party as the wave of the moment, the toast party of the moment. And that is why we have decided to pitch our tent with the Labour Party. And we will continue to fight to see how we entrench and drive that vehicle, using Labour Party as a vehicle to take us to Osadebe Avenue on 2024.
Well, what about that 15 million naira interest and nomination forms? Isn't that a bit high?
Yes. When you look at, it's quite unfortunate that the country, as it is being structured, you know, politics in this part of the world, we play cash and carry politics. Political parties should learn on how to invest the way it is being done in other civilized climes. They should learn on how to invest their resources in profitable ventures so that they can have their own resources coming in, not to wait for every electoral cycle and see that as an opportunity to rake in millions of watts into the treasury of the party. If you look at APC, what is the form intake? The tag is 40 million if you're running for governor. If you look at PDP, it's 20 million. But when you look at Labour Party, initially it was 25 million. His Excellency Mr. Peter Obi tried to placate the leadership of the party, and they decided to reduce it to 15 million. But today, if we still have an opportunity to placate the leadership of the party, to reduce it so that other persons who are nursing the ambition to be a governor in a state can also have access to that money. In today's Nigeria, 15 million is not easy. That's about $15,000. It's not easy to raise. That's the truth. In the face of what we have today in the country, you can imagine what Nigeria is going through currently with a budget of 26 trillion naira, 2024 budget, and you look at the deficit of that budget, about 8 trillion naira to service debt. Then where are those money going to come from? And now we are still talking about borrowing. You want to borrow $1.5 billion from World Bank and borrow $80 million from African Development Bank? Where are you going to see the money? I thought the president once said that he had money, he was able to raise about 2 trillion naira from subsidy. If you multiply that by 10 months, that's almost 20 trillion. So why are we going to be? Why do we go to borrow money and all of that? So when you look at all this, in the face of all these debilitating issues in Nigeria, you can see a parliament expending 57 billion naira on SUV vehicles. We don't have vehicles in the country here. So looking at Labour Party, we will see what we can do. We're going to purchase the form. We are equal to the task, and we'll go into that battle as a no retreat, no surrender kind of arrangement, because we are coming to rescue the state. All right, but
one might wonder, with this submission, yes, you know, how are you funding your ambition?
Yes, thank you. God has been faithful. God has been awesome. We have a lot of people who are in the diaspora, and you know that if you look at the 36 states of the Federation, we have more Edo indigenes, a lot. At least when we look at the first 5 states in the country, we have more of our people outside this country. And majority of them who believe in our vision to transform the state, majority of them are doing everything possible to see how they can support us. And we are also reaching out, because we don't want our support to come from any godfatherism. any godfather. We don't want to be accountable to godfathers. We want to be accountable to the people. When allocation comes, when money comes into the state, we will tell the people, look at what has come. This is what we are spending it on. We cannot be servicing some musketeers behind the scene at the expense of the people. No, we won't do that. So that is why we are trying to reach out to people, friends. I have a lot of friends outside the country, and we are trying to reach out to them to see how they can buy into our project and invest into our project. It's a project, it's a collective project. If we are able to get the ticket of the party by the special grace of God, which we are going to get, and we win the general election, I told them in my last interview, when Labour Party gives me the flag by 12 noon on election day, by September 2024, when the election will be conducted, by 12 noon we would have won the election. Because we have overwhelming majority on our side. And we know that the candidacy of my emergence as a flag bearer of Labour Party is going to transcend across the length and breadth of the state. Because the roots, we have them en masse on our side. So funds are coming from people we know who made their money diligently, and we are still reaching out. And it's an opportunity.
People be able to control you if you should win.
These are friends who are interested. They are already made. These are people who are interested to see the state work. Because if the state was actually working, functioning proper, catering for its people and citizens, they wouldn't have seen the need to leave the state at the first place. So these are individuals who have been able to make a good living for themselves. They are already self-made people. And we're also using this opportunity to reach out to people as well who believe in our nothing is too small. You can come around and invest in it. So that's it.
Thank you for coming and for breaking down the issues in Edo State. I will be taking a look at this going forward. I like the part where you told me to go and verify. We'll take that seriously here, and we'll be taking a look at some of the things there. But let's take a comment from one of our viewers.
Okay.
He says, "Good afternoon. Labour Party is a good party, but cannot thrive on Edo governorship election come 2024. Its candidate of Barrister Ken Imaswa Bon, Kingsley Ulimufun, and others cannot challenge others in PDP and APC. The likes of Akba Komiza, Monday, Okpebolo, Gideon, Ikine, and others." Mr. Solomon Oria. This is from Mr. Solomon Oria. Well, he's talking about the people you have to contend with. And one name you didn't mention here in your Labour Party, particularly the former NBA president who is has some public goodwill and is said to also, be one of the, will I call it, I don't want to use the word, let me not go into that, but it seems to be a powerful force. We've seen others, we've even seen some key persons in parties such as in the PDP move over to other parties, the APC and so on. Are you at all worried about the people you have to face?
You see, when you look at the individuals in question, I don't like discussing personalities, but looking at the individuals, starting from the NBA president, with all due respect to him, where was he prior to the presidential election? He was with the PDP. He was with the PDP. The Barrister Ken Imaswa you're talking about, he is of the PDP. Everybody knows him. He's like a rolling stone who gathers no moss. He moves from one political party to another. Where were they when Labour Party was formed? Where were they when we were moving from state to state to canvass vote at the presidential level for His Excellency Mr. Peter Obi? And the host of some of them that have just trooped into the party just because it's an election cycle and they've seen the success story of Labour Party in the state. Everybody wants to throw their hearts in the ring. We are not perturbed. Because the next governor of the state must be, by the special grace of God, a call obedient to the call. Most of these individuals, you mentioned their name, they have PDP DNA in their blood, flowing in their blood.
Is that a bad thing?
You understand me? It's not a bad thing, but it becomes a bad thing when you move from one political party to another because of your personal interest, not for the interest of the state. And I'll tell you why I said so. One of the cardinal reasons why I say so. Okay, would it be right if the NBA president you're talking about, the man in question,
former NBA president,
yes, the former, that is Akpata himself,
yeah.
Would it be right for the sitting governor who hails from Edo South, from Benin, to hand over the baton of leadership to a fellow Benin man? He is from Edo South. Edo South handing over to Edo South. Does that make sense? It doesn't. We have existed as a family in a tripod relationship. Oshomole handed over to Obaseki. Oshomole is from Edo North. Obaseki is from Edo South. So the rightful thing to be done is for Obaseki to hand over the reins of governance to someone from the central. With that, we should be able to rotate the business of governance. We will not divide our people along ethnic and tribal lines like most of the politicians are trying to do. In our time, we are bringing everybody on board. We are all Edo people. We will not allow individuals, money bags from other political parties being sponsored by the state government to come and create disaffection and disharmony in the Labour Party. We know ourselves. The core obedience know themselves. So we will not allow anybody sponsored by the state government. They know themselves. We know them. Majority of them, you see plenty posters today that are vying for the office of governor under the Labour Party as an aspirant. Majority of them are sponsored by the state government to come and create chaos in the party. We are aware of it. The leadership of the party are aware of it. Their money bags will meet a brick wall at a point during the primaries, because the people, the delegates that will decide the flag bearer of that election, will decide it on the basis of character, content, and antecedents, not on the basis of money back.
All right, let's hear from one of our callers there. Hello, good afternoon. You're on to the Polity. What's your name and where are you calling from, please?
What? This Rifle calling from Port Harcourt.
All right, so go ahead, Mr. Rifle.
I am listening to your program, and I want to thank you and the man of the studio there.
Thank you.
But just that man of the studio, we don't know that man as an man. We have never seen that man as an man or hear that man as an man, because we all know that this present time now is for Islam agenda, and nothing changes that. But that man talking in that studio, we don't know that man as a politician, as a philanthropist, or anybody from Islam, which is a do central. So we have people in that party who people are yearning for. People like Kenny Maswango, people like the Kiss Niulifo. You understand? But this man, I have never seen him at all. So what I'm saying is that this man have people to contend with. There are people he is going to contend with, great men from Isha who are coming up, like people like Gideon. And this man contend with the Gideon. Ejina Gideon. So that Osare Mosubo and this man, Senator Modi, Ogbewe, Akpakomiza. These are people when you mention their name in Islam, they will hear. Not this man, we don't know him. But I'm just saying it for the first time.
Well, all right, thanks for calling. Thanks for calling. Well, that is what we do here at Kaftan TV. We give everybody equal opportunity so that you can make the best decision. But what do you have to say to that? This is one of your perspective.
Yes, my brother from Port Harcourt. Greetings to you. Let me begin by name calling in politics does not ensure the growth of any state or any nation. When talking about you not knowing me, let me first and foremost introduce myself to you. We were the pioneer establishers of the Federal Road Safety in 2007 in Ekpo, my Ruekme. Professor Sareme Osumbo knows me very well. I was a protocol officer in Ruekme. We were using one vehicle to cover 7 local governments. Ibiaja, Uromi, Igwebe, Sabongida Ora, Eho. I was a protocol officer. And during my time in Ishan land, you should browse very well. Honorable Lucky Obiyan is my name. I'm like a tomato, as popular as a tomato in that terrain. Probably he is staying in Port Harcourt. I wonder the last time he visited Edo State. So it's not all about name calling. When Obaseki became the governor of Edo State, nobody knew Obaseki. But he became a governor. It's not all about your level of philanthropic gesture. I don't sing like a canary when I carry out my philanthropic gestures. I have a lot to manage. If he wants the videos, we can give it to them. We're not doing it for lip service. We're doing it to salvage humanity to the glory of the Most High God. So we, thank God you have known me today. Thank God for Kaftan TV. You've seen me. You've known me. The issue of calling names and all of that, we all meet at the primaries. It's not all about calling of names. These individuals he called, where were they when we were fighting for the restoration of the mandates at the presidential level? We were in Abuja on the streets, under the sun and in the rain, for 40 days non-stop. We made a deposition in the United Nations. Where were they? These names he is calling that are just coming into the party. We will not talk much. When we get to the primary, definitely we will all slug it out during the primaries. But talking about my identity and talking about my popularity within Edo Central, I am putting it to him that he should act properly, that I am well known within that locality. We established FROSC within the entire Edo Central, and I was the protocol officer. He should go and check my records. The office is at Iruekme. Osumbo, every time Osumbo was governor at that time, within that 18 months he was in government house, he comes to Iruekme every weekend. And we go to him. Even when I was working at the federal level. So, I have been able to relate with my people. And Bruce Ali University, the entirety of the principals of that university, as it affects the hierarchy of the university, I made it possible for majority of my colleagues back then to gain admission into the institution because of the cordial relationship I was able to arrange on the table. I used my money to pay fines for my people because they are mainly farmers. Ekboma. That was one of the reasons why I had to look for my transfer. When they transferred me, I said, because it was becoming a problem between me and the people in government and the people in my office. I can't just watch, put my hands akimbo to watch my fellow people coming from the farm, and at the end of the day, they break government rules by overloading their vehicles and all of that, and they are being issued tickets. These are our host communities. FRSC will always tell you, be kind to your host communities. When the mob is outside, when you're coming back, these host communities will be the one to save you. But most of our colleagues would want to do government job and all of that. We allow them. I think the little salary I earn as at that time, I used to pay fines. That's why I'm known everywhere in nation land. When I did my House of Rep, contested for House of Rep, as at that time, go to YouTube, type Esan Decide 2019 and look at the people that were standing. He said that debate was done at Ali Hall. Where was he in 2019? Maybe he was still in Port Harcourt. You should look at the debate. Sajos Ogun, Honorable Sajos Ogun, was in that debate. You should type Esan Decide 2019. Check it on YouTube. You will see my campaign. You will see my debates.
All right, I think we might have to draw the curtains there. Thank you so much for coming, and like I said before on Kaftan TV, we do our best to bring you all the aspirants. In the coming weeks, we'll still be bringing you more from Kogi, Imo, Bayelsa, and Edo State, which is still next year. As much as they can, we will bring all of them to you, so you make the best decision. Like we say, we always advocate that you take a good look at your candidates, your aspirants, and you make the best decision for yourself and for your people. Thank you so much for coming, Mr. Lucky, once more. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much.
All right, that's all we'll take on the program for today. I'll leave you now with some reports, but that is the end of the program. Don't forget, the POLITY reaches you live from Abuja every weekday, 2 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. We will see you tomorrow. Have a nice day. Bye for now. I am Amadin Ogbewe.